How's everybody doing? Ooh, that mic works.
Yeah.
Everybody have a good show so far? I'm Tyson Dougherty. I run the partnership business at AppSavvy. AppSavvy is a pioneer and leader of social activity advertising. We've been doing, been engaged in social activity advertising for about 4 years. We're one of the first companies to bring advertisers into social games through partnerships with Playfish and Playdom and Zynga. We brought McDonald's into Farmville and Coke into Cafe World and Assassin's Creed into Mobsters 2 among some other things. While we've always been focused on activity-based advertising, we've evolved how we approach it. And today we're 100% platform-driven, activity-based ad company. Our ad platform, Adtivity, creates net new inventory based off of user activity across leading web, Facebook, and mobile products.
Hi, my name is Jose BROTONS. I'm a co-founder and COO of Product Madness. We're a social company, have been so since 2007, and we've been exclusively focused on the social casino space since early 2010. And we're here to talk about ad innovation and how it can actually help you monetize and make more money, because essentially I hope that's what we're all here for. So a quick question, how many of you guys actually have games that are live right now? Just to get around, okay. How many of you guys have games that are about to go live? Cool, that's really cool. So I think what we're gonna be looking at today is that when everyone's talking about monetization, it's all about virtual currencies, and that does make a huge part of the revenue profile that you may have in your game. These are alternatives and supplements to these monetization channels that can have a significant impact.
Cool. Yeah, let's dig into it. Before we do, who saw some of the other advertising discussions, the Wild Tangent and June Group discussions on the first day in the main room? Anybody here? Okay. Anyone go to the XX show last night? All right. Anybody wish they'd dumped their Zynga stock yesterday? Sorry. So yeah, I mean, obviously social gaming, it's big business already, but there's a tremendous, exciting material upside for social gaming as a distinct media channel to emerge and be monetized through advertising. This is a recognized opportunity by almost the entire industry. Mark Pincus has consistently spoken about the social gaming advertising opportunity that he envisions, I think one of the key things about unlocking this opportunity is not in the last couple of sessions this week, there was this idea that let's pull over TV dollars, right? And while that TV dollars may represent a baseline opportunity, the real opportunity for us as an industry is to collectively work together to create essentially native, innovative, distinct ad models that leverage the inherent capabilities of the channel and the platform. The TV industry did not, the TV ad industry did not grow by porting over radio ads, right? TV ad, the evolution of the TV ad industry was based on what are the capabilities of that specific channel. And I think, for us to really unlock this opportunity, I think that's what we're really going to need to see is, distinct native, ad models.
And I think it's really important to mention in this sense. If you were participating or listened to some of the conversations that have taken place and part of a model that is continuously being pushed towards us as game developers, right? We hear a lot about us having to modify the way we look at the game design and the game mechanics in order to incorporate advertising from the get-go to the basic cores of the game itself. And I think that's a mistake, right? In the same way as you were mentioning just right now that TV did not become successful by making a black screen with a radio in the background noise, right? They leverage this new channel. We've got to find ways that allow us to actually monetize our games with the correct game mechanics in place, not by bastardizing the game mechanics themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tremendously important point. I mean, game design, product design does not need to change and change based on how to build an ad business. The ad models need to seamlessly integrate with the core mechanics of the products and the media itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting point. So I guess in a recent conversation I had with is GM of revenue who handles the ad business at one of the major social gaming companies, I asked him to categorize how he thinks and how he organizes his ad business, and he kind of broke it down in the following way. He has an incentivized channel, and incentivized has been, it's been a very effective and continues to be a very effective, ad business for social gaming. But your ad strategy cannot be entirely based on incentivize. Another emerging, or existing kind of ad model is this idea of turn-based autoplay video, and autoplay video has been an ad monetization business for gaming even since the heyday of the casual web properties, Miniclip and Shockwave and Pogo, and now social with kind of the continued explosion of asynchronous turn-based games. The idea of autoplay video, social gaming companies are now leveraging autoplay video more. Custom sponsorships, another interesting part of the media mix. However, the challenge with custom sponsorships, lots of challenges. One of the main challenges is that they're really only available to the head of the gaming industry, right? So the middle trunk and long-tail publishers and developers really can't leverage this as an ad monetization channel. And then, then standard IAB banners, which may be some money at the margins, but are certainly not going to make a new market.
Yeah. So out of the people that actually raised their hand before and said that they had games that were live, how many of you guys are actually monetizing, at least partially, through display advertising? Could you raise your hands? Okay. And how many of you are heavily optimizing the point at which you actually show a particular display, or you are deciding dynamically whether to show ads or not to your users? Right? Okay, so a much lower population. That's something that at Product Madness we do very, very heavily. We have very advanced systems that sort of determine whether a user should be shown a particular ad or not, and sort of push users to carry out particular actions, whether it be through internal promotions or external promotions. But even doing an extreme effort on these different areas, 95% of our population is still not monetizing, right? So clearly we need to be looking at different channels and vehicles. And I think what we're going to be seeing today is one of these potential segments where you're going to start seeing how things may modify to our particular segment instead of us having to adapt to an external segment.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of innovation over the next 36 months, and activity advertising basically represents one of those native channel innovations, right? And there'll be more, and activity-based advertising will evolve. Let's talk about what is activity-based advertising. It's basically leveraging, as we've talked about, the core game mechanics and the activities within the core game mechanics and the actions that users are already taking within the game as the triggers for when and how to deliver effective brand advertising. We'll talk more about kind of the when and how when we walk through your examples. And there's a couple of key things about activity-based advertising. One, it's non-interruptive, right? The user has the option to engage or not engage, and if they don't engage, there's still dollars that flow through the value chain. So you still capture dollars, and and again, kind of to reiterate, the key thing is that it's core. It's designed to fit seamlessly within the core native game mechanics. Super, super important, and it respects user experience. But does it work? Yeah, this stuff works really well. Publishers publishers and developers in large media codes that are effectively leveraging activity-based advertising are seeing a net daily increase of a net increase of daily ARPU between 1 and 2 cents. Right? That's meaningful dollars.
That's not meaningful. It's awesome. I mean, guys, seriously, I think it's a pretty cool thing to see something that can modify your daily active user value by this type of movement, right? And
so anecdotally, what does this net increase in ARPU mean? So anecdotally, with some of our partners have shared, not only can they keep games live longer, which increases the ROI on that game investment, but they're also now able to greenlight games that they may have shelved because the previous monetization options did not would have proved out to be that game would have proved out to be unprofitable.
Mm-hmm.
So here,
so this is an example of which one am I supposed to be clicking?
This one.
Okay. This is an example of one of our games, and I'm just going to get up and sort of refer to it a little bit more on the screen itself. We own a portfolio of games, so this is not the only game that we're running. And what that also allows us to do is actually visualize and see how things perform across a whole different set of games. This is a game where people come in. It's a team competition slot machine base. So it's you come in, you're given a team, you start participating with that team in the slot machine. You're betting. If your team does well, then you get extra bonuses and extra prizes. So it's sort of like a very social twist to the normal system. Now, as with everyone, what we're trying to do is also create as much of a possibility of user expansion through the sending of gifts and user re-engagement, right? So this is a very normal flow where a person sends a gift, and we see a lot of people doing this, to other team members and people to help their teams grow. Now, the user has suddenly clicked on Yael, decides to send a gift, and this pop-up shows up, right? Now, this pop-up says your gift has been sent. It's very, very contextual. What's interesting about it is that the banner that's appearing, which is being served by AppSavvy, is a banner that looks very much like it's part of the game dynamic. Now, we have here a banner that's saying your gift has been sent, and it's associated to the American Express logo and icon. So from an emotional standpoint, the user is now not only receiving something at a moment when he's done something positive, but also has a very powerful brand that is getting associated with my game, right? So now the user is thinking, if American Express is willing to start doing something on this game, these guys must be legit, right? So I'm also gaining, aside from the monetization perspective, I'm gaining the brand equity that a company like American Express has, right? And I think those are the subdued elements that we usually don't look at when we put up advertising. We're only considering the dollar amount, and you've also got to consider what brands are playing in your space, right? So this is a very clear example of an ad that is based on activity, and we've got things like, you just picked up your daily bonus, you sent a gift out, all these different elements, but they are all very tightly knit with the look and feel of the game itself. Oops.
Yeah, this is an awesome example of an integration. And as you might imagine, most game publishers, game developers are hesitant about introducing advertising in game. Mm-hmm. And many of our many of our gaming partners in general have done fairly robust A/B testing to evaluate the impact on core game KPIs, virality, retention, monetization. The net result is that there's no material negative impact on those core KPIs. So really, the dollars that come in from activity-based advertising are net new. Before we move on, I just want to talk a little bit more about the when and the how, because it's really important to activity-based advertising. The when is fairly well established. It's that post-activity moment. Mm-hmm. The user's just completed something. It's non-interruptive. The how combines several different elements. One of the key elements is that you see that the ad creative is already delivered within this stylized, customized frame that looks like the native environment. So it feels contextually tied into the game experience. And the messaging, the acknowledgement of the user activity is also really key, because it creates context and relevance for why the user's getting an ad. And the net result of kind of that, the when and the how, produce high-performing media and less pissed-off users. So key thing about the how is that we've done a pretty robust analysis of like how important is the how on performance, and by optimizing the how, this is an example of one case study of optimizing how, optimizing the frame design, optimizing the messaging.
So these percentages, what are they compared against? Because like a 909%. It's hard to believe. So
well, they were. It's basically kind of the evolution of our business with one of our partners. One of the first partners on the platform had certain way that we implemented, and we optimized the elements of the frame design, the frame messaging, and these were the net results. As we established best practices, we had tested those best practices, and this is the result that we saw.
If I didn't know you that well, I wouldn't believe it.
I know. Probably shouldn't have. And what the net result is there is that publisher is now getting more dollars.
Okay.
Here's a quick snapshot of media companies, publishers, developers that are leveraging activity-based advertising. Obviously, you'll recognize some of the logos as colleagues of yours. And within gaming, we always kind of start. We start slow. And our partners always go through that A/B testing, the net effect after kind of a test case with all publishers has resulted in additional activities and additional products being implemented. I guess speaking to kind of the advertising side of the market and the comparison of activity-based advertising performance to general standard advertising industry trends. We see a very material increase in performance from activity-based advertising, from that combination of the when and the how. That CTR, when you segment activity-based advertising in gaming and non-gaming, the performance in gaming is another factor of 300% over kind of network-based activity-based advertising, and obviously the advertisers love it.
That is really cool.
I guess just a view of, these are a handful of advertisers that are currently buying into activity-based advertising. The best brands in the world looking for innovative ways to reach consumers while they're doing things in their native environment. Many of these advertisers are repeat activity-based ad buyers with increasing spends on each repeat buy. And I guess overall, the industry, activity-based ad industry, we do about 1 billion monthly impressions, and in the U.S., it'd be hard to project currently what the overall size of the activity-based ad industry is, but it is mature and it is proven, and advertisers continue to spend.
What's interesting for me in this perspective is that precisely the type of brands, because we're, as a developer, we're trying to be very careful on the user experience. The type of brands that are here are brands that I'm comfortable with having on my game, right? And that's, I think, really important when referring back to that emotional connection that exists. I don't want any brand on my site. I want brands that I can recognize and have a good relationship with. Yeah, and the brands feel the same way about being in Product Madness, because they want that brand equity transference to their brand as well. Because if McDonald's is advertising in Product Madness, your users that love Product Madness are now going to have a more positive association with McDonald's, particularly if it's integrated in on our. Unless I show them the ad when they've lost. What? Unless I've shown them the ad when they've lost. So essentially, we launched our first activity ads based in December of 2011. We have right now a $4.14 trailing 3-month average CPM that's net to us. And it's essentially dollar ads that started to come in on top of what we were doing. We didn't see any decline with respect to other activities, or not other activities, but other revenue generation systems. Right now, display advertising for us represents a 5% of our total revenue pool. We're looking to increase this to 10%, so we're spending a little bit of attention on display advertising. It's, I think, something that we should all be doing. And because we have different portfolios and we've seen it work so well in some of our games, we've started expanding it across all of our different portfolio applications. So with respect to the activities that we're using ourselves, we've got things like level complete. We want to be doing this type of thing on activities that are very positive for the user, right? That's when you want to hit them with something that relates to particular advertising or particular monetization possibility. So a person hits a level complete, or a person sends a gift, or a person collects an item. But beyond that, what's interesting about this model, at least from the developer perspective, is that it's up to us to start deciding what activities we want to be monetizing on. You ultimately are the person that best knows your game. You're the person that knows at what point your users are feeling a high about your game and at what points they're feeling a low about your game. And it's up to you to start defining can I actually advertise at this particular point and get a good click-through rate and get a good feeling or emotional connection with that user in such a manner that I can start monetizing them?
Yeah, but you don't need to change your game design.
Not at all.
You know, create your game design to, you know, to make the best product and experience for your users, and you know, activity-based advertising will leverage all of those activities. So you know, these are just a sample of some of the activities that can that can be leveraged. But yeah, you don't need to change your game design. You know, it fits in seamlessly.
And that's a very important point for us.
Yeah, closing remarks. So, I mean, you know, obviously, social activity, you know, social gaming, you know, represents a huge opportunity for advertising. There's going to be a ton of innovation over the next 36 months. We, as an industry, need to support that innovation and, you know, test new and emerging ad models, and you know, and again, ones that are native, specifically native to the channel. You know, activity advertising is just one of a handful of new models that are going to emerge to really unlock the value in social gaming advertising.
And essentially, the ultimate thing is don't leave money on the table, right? As developers, we're very, very much focused, especially if you're a small developer, on creating that best user experience. Well, you're not going to be able to create that best user experience unless you're making money with your game, right? And these are simple methods that are quick to integrate and which will start generating significant revenues for you, right? And you want to be starting to implement them as soon as possible. But what's interesting about everything that you've said is the fact that you don't need to start thinking about designing your entire game around this advertising, right? Which for me is essentially bastardizing that gaming experience. As a game designer, I don't want to be thinking about, do I need to specifically create this, you know, twisted user flow so that I can put in a display ad? No, I want to make sure that it's a seamless integration, taking advantage of these new technologies. And don't forget to A/B test everything. You know, even if I'm up here telling you guys, you know, this is a great thing, I'm thinking it'll work for your game, but A/B test it. And make sure that you A/B test every single monetization channel and opportunity that you have, because you may be surprised at what works, what doesn't work, and how you go about doing the different things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys have any questions?
Are you guys suggesting?
Can you say where you're from, what you do? Is that cool?
Sure, I'm from Seattle. I have a small business here making iPhone games,
Right.
other platforms as well. But yeah, we have a freemium and premium kind of model where advertisements in the free version, none in the paid version. Are you guys suggesting that activity-based advertising would work in a premium model?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I think you should test to see how it impacts you know, your core monetization mechanisms. But there's absolutely nothing that should prevent it from providing additional lift in your paid games. So yeah, I mean, it's tying into your core game mechanics, and you know, some of our publishers you know, already deliver ads to their paid users. Some choose to segment their audience differently and only deliver, you know, activity-based ads to their unpaid users, and there's a bunch of different methodologies that they use to segment their audience. But yeah, absolutely, you know, activity-based advertising should work through paid games.
And I think what's interesting about the point that you raised, right? When we think about advertising, on the majority of the thoughts, it's a disturbance with respect to the core gameplay. You know, it's a banner that's taking up real estate, or it's something that's popping up when you don't want it to pop up. That's how the majority of the display advertising is thought about. With this particular activity-based system, what's going on is the user is expecting to get, you know, a confirmation that he's carried out a certain activity. And in a certain way, you're sponsoring that thing, and you can call it sponsored by whoever it is, right? This gift send was sponsored by such and such. And then that makes it much more relevant and a lot less disturbing than if you suddenly pop up something when they're not expecting it to do.
How would you guys change, say Words with Friends, right? They have a model where every time, the free version has a model where every time you play, you see an interstitial. Does that fit this model, or is that?
Yeah, I would say that placement is one activity that we would you know, that is an activity-based ad, right? I mean, so yeah, that placement, that's a decent placement. I mean, I think, you know, our view of activity-based, Appside's view of activity-based advertising, though, is that it be non-interruptive. Most of the placements that are being used there are autoplay video, where the user is actually forced to consume the media before they can move on with their game product experience. So from a placement, from a when perspective, absolutely. From a how, not exactly the way AppSavvy implements around activity-based advertising, but that placement is activity triggered. Yep.
Hi, I'm Nick from Cloudmate. What are the main differences you see between this on like Facebook on the web and on mobile?
As differences in performance or differences of?
Difference in performance, user behavior, the kind of user experience you've got to create, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the very interesting question. There's a bunch of different ways I can take this. I think it's one of the key things to highlight is that one of the things that we're doing on the back end and kind of our contribution to big data is that we're creating, an activity taxonomy. So we're organizing, all the activities across the digital product landscape. And then tying those specific, and some of those activities could be, because you could send a message in a game and you can send a message outside of a game, and then looking at that activity set and understanding the performance of specific advertisers, categories of advertisers, specific campaigns, categories of campaigns, so that we truly have a deep understanding of how to value activities. And what that eventually does is lead to kind of more efficient pricing, which makes sure everybody within the activity, with the activity value chain is most effectively capturing maximum value. I don't know. Were you looking for a different response or? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious what some of your favorite examples of the way people are using right now in active game activities. I know Siegel used it quite early on with some of their, he built some structures that would maybe Lady Gaga, when you run around collecting collectibles for Lady Gaga and you put that together. So is there any others or things like that you feel are the best of breed right now?
I mean, I can tell you from our perspective, things that work really well are your daily bonus collection. Very positive impact, right? You suddenly won a big round on a slot machine. Very positive. So what we see is things that are very positive, they tend to have a big impact. Now, with respect to what other people are doing, I really can't comment, but you may want to.
Yeah, I mean, other great examples. I mean, CrowdStar has some CrowdStar and both Playdom have some very interesting implementations where against the activities, they're actually pulling dynamic data out of the game and presenting it in that frame. So not only is the messaging acknowledging the activity, it's passing very specific relevant data to that user. Again, it's not PII. It's just if you purchase something, it doesn't just say, purchase successful. It'll be like, hey, cool, thanks for purchasing that skirt. So it makes it a very personal ad delivery experience. I think we're getting the hook though. So yeah, if there's any, if anybody has any other questions, I don't know. I think our information is probably on the website or something, but we're easy to find.
Awesome.
Cheers, thanks guys.
Thank you.